Meditation, consciousness. What does it all mean? How can advanced meditators turn off their consciousness, as if it's a light they can simply push a switch on? What is meditation, anyway? It's far more than any of us might have thought. Picture this: you're seated, sipping your favorite coffee. When an old assumption surfaces, meditation is just monks in caves. You see it clearly: someone in robes, perched on a rock, staring at a wall for hours, silent as a stone, a figure carved from stillness. It's a simplistic view, a reflex of the mind, but it's where we've long landed. But what if it's not about that? It's about witnessing, getting a front row seat to how your own system works. Not escaping into a void, not chanting Om until the world blurs to nothing, but peering beneath the surface. It's an active gaze, thoughts arising, emotions twisting, intentions pulling strings. Meditation is about observing that tangle, tracing what drives it, what fuels the quiet chaos. It's not passive retreat, it's confrontation. We've sat with ourselves before, alone with our mind, watching its inner world unfold without judgment. Thoughts swirl like smoke, thick and fleeting. Emotions rise sharp, then dissolve. Beneath it all, a quiet hum of being persists, steady as a heartbeat. Many of us would think of it as introspection, a private ritual, not meditation. But what if that's wrong? What if that's also a part of it? What if that's meditation staring us down, unrecognized? I wasn't convinced at first. Meditation should be formal, shouldn't it? Legs crossed in perfect symmetry, eyes sealed shut, a prescribed stillness, the whole ritual etched in tradition. That's the image I've carried, the mold I've measured it against. But what if that's a shell, not the core? What if it's all about the attitude, intentionality, curiosity, a hunger to see something new? If I'm sitting there, deliberately observing my mind's chaos, its currents, its storms, its fleeting calms, if I'm catching glimpses of how it ticks, isn't that the essence? Not the posture, not the silence of a cave, but the lens I bring, the choice to look, to question, to witness. Have I been brushing against meditation all this time, mistaking it for something less? Is it the act of seeing, the resolve to face what moves within, that defines it? If so, this is no small thing. It's confronting with what's already there, a mirror held steady. First, there's analytic meditation. Consider it science for your soul. It's rigorous, a disciplined pursuit, skeptical of every assumption, chasing truth with a sharply honed mind. It's not casual, it demands focus, a willingness to cut through the noise and face what's real. Science itself can echo this if approached with integrity, patiently, humbly probing reality, testing what withstands scrutiny, what holds firm under pressure. That's a heavy parallel, a lab of the spirit, where hypotheses are your own beliefs. Then there's the simpler path, just observing. No dissection, no judgment, letting phenomena drift by, like clouds across a vast, unyielding sky. Thoughts flicker into being, feelings shift and fade, that sense of ourselves moves through its quiet dance. It's a simple presence. I've felt that pull before, watching without grasping, and it strikes me now, we've likely all dipped into this second kind, unaware. Have we been practicing some form of meditation all along, masking it with other names, unaware to its quiet truth? Here's where it gets interesting. Not every mental state carries that mark. When we're deep in our usual ruts, mind drifting to dinner plans, tangled in tomorrow's worries, that's not meditation. Those are habitual patterns, deep tracks worn smooth by repetition, paths where no fresh understanding takes root. They're the mind's default, the comfort of routine. Meditation, though, has an edge, a spark of engagement, a sudden, "What's this?" that pierces the fog. It's not passive, it's waking to your own mind, stepping out of the sleepwalk we so often stumble through. That distinction sits heavy. There's a line here, a threshold. Could everything tied to mind and self fall under meditation's gaze? Is this very pondering, this wrestling with the question, a meditative act unfolding now? I've long held this quiet watchfulness, my non-judgmental inner gazing, as a personal quirk, a private habit, not something grand like meditation. What's the difference then? Is every mindful moment a meditation, or does it demand more? Meditation requires that shift, that step into a space where you're not merely reacting, not coasting on instinct, but noticing, truly seeing what stirs within. It's a confrontation, subtle but stark. Have I crossed that line in my silent staring, or lingered just shy of it? The boundary blurs, and I'm left with this. It's not the act alone, but the intent, the choice to awaken, that drives the difference. What is the mind then? What's this self we're so obsessed with, this anchor we cling to as if it's unshakable? Think of non-duality. There's no hard split between ourselves and not ourselves, no clean edge to mark where we end and the world begins. The truth isn't simple, it doesn't bend to yes or no. The self isn't a thing, solid and whole, it's a shape, a shadow cast by conditions we barely understand. Lean on predictive processing, and the picture sharpens. The brain is a prediction machine, tirelessly spinning a simulation of reality, ourselves included, all from fragments of sensory guesses. There's no direct line to the world out there, no unfiltered truth beaming in. What we get is a 2D sketch, blips from our eyes, whispers from our ears, the body's raw pulses, stitched together into this 3D model we call ourselves, and everything else. It's a construct, a story built from mere pieces, yet it feels absolute, undeniable. How can that be? If the self is a guess, a projection refined to keep us alive, what's real about it? What we know as ourselves might be a mirage, an illusion built to hold ourselves steady in a world that isn't. During meditation, if we sit long enough, that solid sense of ourselves begins to break. It's not a theory, it's a shift we feel, a loosening of something we've always taken as firm. The self starts to wobble, its edges soften, and we can trace its layers. Peer long enough and 4 levels of self will unfold before you, each one less certain, less obvious than the last. First, there's the narrative self, the story we keep telling ourselves. I'm this person, with this past, and these plans. It's abstract, a construction lodged high in the brain's neocortex, spanning across time, years stitched together in memory and expectation. We live there most of our days, consumed in that tale. It's a script we constantly recite to ourselves without pause, worrying about what's next, rehashing yesterday's scenes, caught in a loop of our own making. That's where our mind lingers, tied to a narrative that feels like truth but weighs heavy at the same time with its demands and expectations. Slow it down, though. Tune into the now, and another layer rises. The embodied self takes hold. My hands rest on my lap, breath fills my chest, colors flood my eyes, sounds pour into my ears. It's less constructed than the story, more immediate, tied to the senses, not the mind's endless chatter. We can focus there, on that sensory pulse, say, the tip of our fingers, and it shifts. Focus long enough, and a tingle creeps in, faint but real, sparked by nothing but our continued attention in that point. Mind alone can bend the body. This isn't abstract, it's here, in the flesh, a presence that cuts through the narrative's haze and anchors us to what's tangible. If we keep going, we then find the witnessing self. This one's subtler, sneakier, it slips in quietly. We sit and can watch our hands, steady on our laps, our breath, rising and falling, even our thoughts, flickering like shadows. Then it hits, we are not in them. We can observe them, apart yet present, a vantage point starts to take hold naturally. It's disorienting because suddenly, we're not the movement, not the rhythm, not the chatter, we're the one holding the gaze. The experience shifts beneath us, and we're left separate, still here, peering at it all. Push further still, and there's a 4th layer we can unfold. We are now in the realm of pure awareness. It's not a step we force, it emerges on its own when we let go. No subject facing an object. Just spaciousness, a vast stillness, a silence without edges. Words falter here, it's non-conceptual, a state that doesn't bend to naming. Traditions like Buddhism nod toward this, beyond the witness, where even that faint, I'm watching, unravels into nothing. It's not a prize we can seize, not a thing to clutch with eager hands. It's what remains when the story, the sensing, reaching, and watching just stops, when the mind's grip loosens and falls away. We can faintly intuit its pull, distant yet real, a horizon we haven't crossed, but one that can reshape everything we thought we understood. It all ties together, science and experience converge in a way that feels inevitable. Evolution carved this self into us, making it feel permanent, unshakable. It's no accident, it's a design for survival, a shield to protect ourselves, a thread to keep the species weaving forward through time. That solidity isn't a flaw, it's a tool, honed over eons to hold us steady. But meditation turns that inside out. It's not gentle, it's exposure therapy for reality itself. We can sit and watch, and the cracks will start to form, slow and deliberate. The illusion of what we have fixed as ourselves splinters, not with force, but with quiet persistence. That shift isn't destruction, it's revelation. Not to make less of the self, it's beautiful, intricate, useful in its way. But it's not set in stone. It's groundless, a foundation that dissolves if you can truly test it, and that's no loss. It's freedom, seeping in through the cracks, a glimpse beyond the mind's usual matrix, and its tight, familiar walls. That freedom doesn't shout, it calls, steady and subtle, reshaping what we thought we knew. Maybe meditation isn't escape, not a flight from what presses in. Maybe it's waking up, eyes opening to what's already here, humming beneath the surface all along. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more discussions on consciousness, reality, and the mysteries of existence. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.